Inside a U.S. prison in 1997, the fight that left evidence but no victims. The cell looked like a fight had just ended. Metal stool overturned. A mattress half off the frame. Fresh scrape marks along the concrete wall. They had 6 minutes to decide whether to lock down the unit. No one could find a single witness. Stay with this story. What happens next almost didn't get stopped. Officer Lena Morales stood at the cell door, staring through the reinforced glass. The scene inside didn't match the silence around it. No shouting, no alarms, no injured inmates being escorted out. Just a room that looked violently disturbed in a block that had been quiet all morning. "Open it," the shift supervisor said over the radio. Morales hesitated. She'd worked this unit long enough to recognize patterns. Real fights left trails, raised voices beforehand, tension in the yard, something logged, something overheard. This one hadn't. The door slid open. Morales stepped inside slowly, eyes scanning every surface. The floor was clear. No blood, no torn clothing. The sink was intact. The walls showed shallow impact marks, uneven, scattered. Accidental? Or staged? 2 inmates were assigned to the cell. Both stood at opposite sides, hands visible, faces neutral. Too neutral. "Anyone hurt?" Morales asked. Both shook their heads. "No fight," one of them said. His voice was steady, practiced. Morales noted it. Calm responses after a real altercation were rare. Adrenaline lingered. Hands shook. Voices cracked. These didn't. She crouched near the overturned stool. The legs were bent inward, not outward. Morales frowned. If it had been thrown, the metal would have warped differently. She stood and turned to the mattress. It had slipped halfway off the frame, one corner wedged awkwardly against the wall. No tears. No compressed spots where weight had landed suddenly. "This doesn't make sense," she said quietly. The supervisor glanced at his tablet. Both inmates deny any incident. No cameras inside the cell. No noise complaints. Could be roughhousing. Morales didn't like that word. Roughhousing was what people said when they didn't want to look closer. She stepped back into the corridor and keyed her radio, requesting review of unit activity logs. "Last 2 hours. Already checked," the supervisor replied. Nothing flagged. Morales nodded, but something felt off. This wasn't just about the cell. Over the past week, she'd noticed small things. Furniture shifted between counts, items out of place that no one admitted moving. Each time, it was dismissed as inmate carelessness. She'd logged it once. The note never appeared in the system. That bothered her more than the cell. Morales walked the perimeter of the unit, eyes on the floor, the walls, the ceiling fixtures. Other cells were normal. Too normal. Beds made. Items aligned. Order everywhere, except one place. The disturbance was isolated, which meant it was intentional. She returned to the cell and addressed the inmates again. "We're separating you for now." Both reacted instantly. "No reason," one said. The other added, "We didn't do anything." Morales held their gaze. She wasn't accusing them. She was watching how quickly they pushed back. The supervisor sighed. "Lena, we're already short-staffed. If there's no fight, then explain the marks," Morales said, pointing to the wall. The inmates exchanged a glance. "Quick, almost missed. One of the shelves fell," one said. "It was loose." Morales looked at the shelf. It was still bolted, level, untouched. "That shelf?" she asked. Silence. The supervisor rubbed his forehead. "We'll write it up as accidental damage. Maintenance can check it later." Later. That word again. Morales stepped aside as the inmates were escorted out for routine separation. As they passed, one of them said something under his breath. Too low for the supervisor to hear. "Not here." Morales froze. She turned, but the inmate was already moving down the corridor. "Not here." She replayed it in her head. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't defiance. It was instruction. Morales returned to the cell alone. She closed the door and stood still, letting the quiet settle. The air smelled faintly of dust and metal, not sweat, not fear. She knelt again, this time closer to the wall. The scrape marks were shallow, consistent in height, clustered near the mattress. She pressed her palm against the concrete. It vibrated, barely, but enough. Morales pulled out her flashlight and traced the beam along the wall, angling it low. A hairline crack caught the light, running vertically behind where the mattress had been. This wasn't impact damage. It was pressure. From behind. Her pulse quickened. She stepped back, scanning the room again. The disturbance wasn't the result of chaos. It was the result of movement. She exited the cell and found the supervisor. "I need maintenance now." "Structural check." The supervisor frowned. "For a tipped stool? For a wall that's not solid," Morales said. He hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. But if this turns out to be nothing..." "It won't," Morales replied. Maintenance arrived 20 minutes later, annoyed, tools clanking. They removed the mattress completely and tapped along the wall. The sound changed near the crack, hollow where it shouldn't have been. One of the workers paused. "That's odd. How old is this block?" Morales asked. "Late 60s, he said. "Why?" He pried away a small section of paneling near the floor. Dust spilled out, followed by a thin draft of cold air. Behind the wall was empty space. Not a hole. Not a tunnel. A void. The maintenance worker leaned back, eyes narrowed. "This isn't on any current plans." The supervisor stared. "What is it?" The worker shook his head slowly. "Could be an old service gap. Might run along multiple cells." Morales felt her stomach drop. This wasn't a fight that never happened. It was a distraction. She looked down at the overturned stool, the shifted mattress, the marks on the wall. The inmates hadn't been fighting each other. They'd been pushing, testing, seeing how much noise they could make without triggering a lockdown. The supervisor reached for his radio. "Control, we need blueprints. All versions." A voice crackled back. "Which year?" Morales answered before he could. "All of them." As maintenance widened the opening slightly, a deeper draft flowed out, carrying the smell of old concrete and stagnant air. The void extended upward and sideways, disappearing beyond the beam of the flashlight. Morales straightened, heart pounding. This cell hadn't shown signs of violence. It had shown signs of access. And as Control began pulling historical logs to see when this wall had last been inspected, everything changed. The first assumption was simple. If no fight happened, then no threat existed. That assumption bought the inmates time. Maintenance sealed the opening temporarily with a metal plate and logged it as a non-urgent structural irregularity. The supervisor marked the incident as resolved, noting accidental damage under review. The unit never locked down. Movement resumed. Count continued as normal. Lena Morales watched all of it happen with a growing sense of dread. She had asked for a full unit sweep. She had asked for an isolation hold. She had asked for historical blueprints. What she got was a patch. By afternoon, the inmates were back in circulation. Different cells. Different tiers. But still inside the same block. And still watching. Morales reviewed the footage again, this time focusing on what wasn't there. No raised voices before the disturbance. No sudden movements afterward. No medical visits. No disciplinary requests. The system was quiet because it believed nothing had occurred. That belief was the mistake. She went back through her own reports from the past month. Furniture moved between counts. Shelves out of alignment. Items shifted just enough to be noticeable, but never enough to trigger a response. Each incident had been logged as inmate negligence. Each one had occurred in the same vertical stack of cells. Morales brought this to her supervisor again. "You're connecting dots that may not exist," he said. "We deal in incidents, not theories." She didn't argue. She asked a different question. "When was the last time we physically verified the internal walls of this block?" The supervisor didn't answer right away. "That's not standard," he finally said. "We rely on inspections." "Inspections rely on plans," Morales replied. "Plans rely on updates." Silence followed. Facilities finally delivered partial blueprints that evening. Not digital. Scanned copies of paper drawings. Renovation overlays stacked on top of older designs. Morales spread them across a table and traced the lines with her finger. There was a narrow service void running vertically through the block, sealed on paper during a renovation that never showed a completion signature. The void intersected 5 cells. The disturbed cell was one of them. "What's the width?" Morales asked. Facilities hesitated. 18 to 20 inches, depending on where. Enough. Enough for movement. Enough for concealment. Enough to work without tools if you knew where to apply pressure. Morales requested another sweep. Again it was delayed. Staffing shortages. Dinner service. Scheduling conflicts. By the time approval came, it was after count. The team opened the cell again. The temporary metal plate was intact. The wall looked undisturbed. Too undisturbed. Morales crouched and checked the floor. Fine concrete dust lay along the baseboard. Fresh. She pressed the plate gently. It shifted. Not loose, adjusted. Whoever had been working there knew how to put it back just enough to pass inspection. That was when Morales realized the second mistake. They were treating this like damage. It was rehearsal. She radioed control. "I need movement logs for the inmates from C-17. All locations. All contacts." The response came back slower than usual. "Some data's missing," Control said. "Looks like a sync issue." Another routine explanation. Morales closed her eyes briefly. "Pull it manually," she said. "Badge swipes. Door access. Everything." The data came in fragments. Inmates who shouldn't have crossed paths appeared in the same locations within minutes of each other. Cells changed assignments briefly, then reverted. Movements logged, then corrected. Administrative noise. The kind no one reviews closely unless they're already looking for something. Morales confronted one of the inmates during evening checks. Not accusatory. Casual. "Busy day," she said. He nodded. Felt normal. "You hear anything earlier?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Just the building settling." That was the phrase. The same one maintenance had used. The inmates hadn't invented a story. They'd borrowed language. Later that night, Morales finally got what she'd been asking for, a full maintenance sweep of the affected cells. The team removed panels carefully this time, expanding the inspection beyond the original opening. What they found wasn't a tunnel. It was worse. The void wasn't straight. It widened and narrowed irregularly, shaped by decades of minor shifts and incomplete repairs. In some places, wooden supports remained from original construction. In others, nothing but aging concrete separated cells. This wasn't an escape route. It was infrastructure that had never been finished. Morales stood back as the flashlight beam traced the space upward. At the top of the void, a narrow opening connected to a ceiling cavity above the unit. From there, the layout became unclear. "Does this connect outside the block?" the supervisor asked. Facilities shook their head. "We don't know." That was the third mistake. They had assumed the risk was internal. By the time perimeter checks were ordered, it was nearly midnight. Exterior inspections found no breaches, no tools, no disturbed fencing, no alarms. Everything was still inside. Or so they thought. Morales reviewed inmate counts again. Everyone was present. No one missing. No injuries. No formal incident. On paper, the day ended cleanly. But Morales couldn't shake the feeling that the damage had already been done. Because if the inmates had wanted to fight, they would have. Instead, they had learned something far more valuable. They had learned how much noise they could make before someone noticed. And how quickly attention faded once a problem looked resolved. As Morales prepared to leave for the night, Control radioed one final update. "Lena, we're seeing something odd." "What?" she asked. "A maintenance access door logged open earlier today. 15 minutes. No staff assignment attached." Morales stopped walking. "Which door?" The pause. "Ceiling access above C block." Her chest tightened. That door wasn't supposed to open at all. And whoever had accessed it hadn't triggered an alarm. Because no one was watching for movement where a fight was supposed to have happened. They were watching the wrong thing. And whatever the inmates had been preparing for, it wasn't over. The access door had been open for 14 minutes. That was the number that changed everything. Not because 14 minutes was long enough for violence, but because it was long enough for certainty. Long enough to confirm the void wasn't theoretical. Long enough to prove someone knew exactly when to move. Lena Morales stood in the control room, eyes locked on the access log as it replayed line by line. The ceiling hatch above C block had opened during a routine maintenance window. No badge ID attached. No override alert. The system registered it as a valid action, just one without a name. That shouldn't be possible, the supervisor said. It is, Morales replied. Because we weren't looking for it. They reviewed the CCTV feeds covering the ceiling corridor. The cameras showed nothing unusual. No running. No groups. No confrontation. Just an empty stretch of concrete and pipes, quiet as it had been for decades. Then Morales noticed something subtle. A shadow. It didn't move fast. It didn't cross the frame. It simply wasn't there before, and then it was. For less than a second. The camera didn't flag it. The system didn't recognize it as motion. But Morales saw it because she wasn't searching for aggression. She was searching for absence. They rewound again. Frame by frame. The shadow aligned with the hatch opening. A shift in lighting caused by something passing between the bulb and the wall. Something narrow. Controlled. Not a person walking. Someone climbing. The truth emerged slowly, piece by piece, as the team reconstructed the day backward. The inmates hadn't staged a fight to distract staff. They had staged evidence, the visual language of violence, because they knew how officers were trained to respond to it. Fights triggered lockdowns. Lockdowns froze movement. Frozen movement meant eyes everywhere. They didn't want that. They wanted investigation fatigue. They wanted officers to feel relief when nothing escalated. To close the incident quickly. To accept an explanation that made the disturbance smaller than it appeared. And it worked. The overturned stool hadn't been thrown. It had been leaned, pressed, repositioned to create marks consistent with struggle. The mattress had been shifted not to conceal damage, but to apply pressure in the same place repeatedly. They weren't testing strength. They were testing space. Facilities confirmed it hours later. The void ran vertically through 5 cells, intersecting a ceiling cavity that connected to an administrative service corridor, not part of the secure inmate pathway, and therefore not monitored with the same scrutiny. The corridor led nowhere useful on its own. But from it, access was possible. Not to escape. Not to attack. To learn. Morales felt the weight of the realization settle in her chest. There had been no fight because there didn't need to be one. The inmates weren't preparing violence. They were mapping the building. When Internal Affairs interviewed the 2 inmates separately, both stuck to the same story. No fight. No argument. No damage done intentionally. They didn't contradict each other. They didn't over-explain. They didn't need to, because technically, they were telling the truth. The disturbance had not been a fight. It had been an experiment, and the prison had responded exactly as predicted. The final report would later conclude that no criminal conspiracy could be established. No charges were filed. No disciplinary action escalated beyond administrative warnings. On paper, nothing happened. But inside the system, the response was immediate. Walls were scanned with ground-penetrating equipment. Ceiling access points were reclassified as security assets. Maintenance routes were locked behind monitored authentication. Training modules were updated to include something officers had never been formally taught before: architecture awareness. Morales attended the briefing where the new guidance was introduced. It didn't focus on inmate behavior. It focused on structures. Pay attention to silence, the instructor said. Pay attention to order that doesn't fit. Morales knew exactly what that meant. The inmates involved were transferred quietly weeks later. No explanation given. No incident referenced. Their files showed clean conduct records. That was intentional, because the prison didn't want copycats. But Morales knew something else would follow, because this wasn't about 2 inmates. It was about how easily certainty had been manufactured. The prison had believed it understood its environment because it had maps, logs, and procedures. But none of those reflected the reality of a building shaped by time, shortcuts, and forgotten decisions. The inmates hadn't broken rules. They had exploited assumptions. And assumptions were invisible until someone challenged them. Months later, Morales walked past C Block during an inspection. The walls had been reinforced. The void sealed completely. The ceiling hatch replaced with a monitored access point. The unit was quieter now. But she didn't mistake quiet for safety anymore. Because the most dangerous part of that day hadn't been the evidence of a fight. It had been how quickly everyone wanted to believe it was over. The truth was simple and deeply unsettling. No fight ever happened. But the evidence was real. And next time, it wouldn't be a rehearsal. This could happen again. If this story shook you, the next one will be worse.